Hey there, welcome back to AutoNet. So today I want to talk a little bit about writing your own widgets, but then also publishing those widgets as NPM packages that someone else could use inside their ArcGIS API for JavaScript application. So it's a little tricky. I don't want to say it's 100% yet, or at least I haven't gotten it to 100% yet. I'm still working on it and tweaking things. But basically what I want to do is, just for this demo, is build an overview map, just to demonstrate building a widget and deploying it that's usable a bunch of places. So basically I got my overview map here. It's a different street map. I zoom in and I'm just going to show the extent of my current map on the overview map. Right? So that's not necessarily too difficult. There's no interaction on here, and you can't pan this around or anything. That's not really my concern. I just want to show how I can consume this npm published widget inside of my own application, right? So, okay. So here I have the actual widget itself. I'm not going to go into detail on what the widget itself does, but what I do want to point out is that I am using this CSS in JSS library here. So it's a CSS in JS. I talked about this previously in one of my other videos. Basically, you write the style for your widget inside of your application, right? So I've got the style object that I wrote here. The base is going to be Esri widget because it's still an Esri widget that I want to use. I want to inherit some of these styles here. But I define just width and height for the overview map. This is actually the width and height of the widget itself, but then also have a width and height for the actual map view that I want to use. And they're both going to be the same. So it's pretty much the same thing. Then I create these dynamic styles here and set them to true. And I can just apply those to my widget when I use it. So here's the one for the actual frame of the widget, like the panel. And then here's one for the actual map inside of it. And when I have this after create method here, when that happens, I'm going to have this attach node, I call it. And basically what happens in here is I have a view model that's going to go ahead and watch for the extent to change, and it's going to lock the zoom, disable panning, and things like that. And basically just sync this little overview map with the actual map used in the application. All right, so how do I get some of this stuff done? So basically I've got my nice little TS config set up in here. No big deal, right? That's pretty basic. I have a package.json, and I'm running run Webpack. And I know I've talked a little bit smack about Webpack before. Webpack's fine, it works okay. My only issues with Webpack has always been that the configs can get kind of ugly at times, but it's all right, it's not a big deal. That's really more of my own personal preference. I do like to use npm scripts more often than not, but I got no issues with running a Webpack config and getting that up and going. The main reason I'm running this Webpack config here is because I am using this external JSS library to inject the CSS stylings into my widget. And since I want this widget to be portable that anybody could use, I'm going to go ahead and embed that JSS library into the deployment of my widget when I build it. All right, so let's look at this Webpack config real quick. I'm basically going to deploy out to a folder called widget and give it my overview map JS. That's going to be the bundled package. This is going to include the view model as well as the JSS library. I set up the rules for TypeScript compiling. I have my Uglify plugin in here to optimize the JavaScript output, basically just minify it. And what I want to do is I want to have this external setup to ignore any references to Dojo, Esri. I'm not using Digit Dojo X, but I just left them in there. But pretty much just ignore. I could probably just get away with having the Esri one in there, and it'll still build just fine. All right, so if I run this, npm run webpack, it's going to go ahead and run, and it's going to use my tsconfig for what I want to do. My output's going to be AMD. Now if I go to this widget folder, I have my optimized minified code. All right, so that's not so bad. I've got the DTS file for my, where's that? Here we go. For the map itself, so it creates my DTS with the TypeScript compiler as well as view model TypeScript compiler. Creates a DTS for that too. So then what I had to do here too, because JSS does not have a, does not have typings, I just had to declare module JSS so I could use it inside my application. So it's just any. They have flow typing, but they don't have TypeScript typing, so I was kind of disappointed in. And what else can I show you here? Not much else. Let's index.dts. So I was trying to get clever by defining the module as this name, Ezra.js overview map / overview map. It didn't work. I don't know. I wasn't clever enough. That's fine. No big deal. Now my application, so what I do here now is when I do that is I have a npm link that I can do on my machine, which is going to mimic what would happen if I publish this to npm, so I can do local testing, and the npm link is set up with this prepare here to delete the widget directory and then run npm webpack again to create that widget directory with my output, right? So then what I can do over here is I would actually run npm, link Ezra.js overview map in my application, but I don't currently need to do that right now. I was having the TypeScript compiler load. I've got a couple errors, ignore them. No big deal. So what I need to do on my application that's going to consume this is once I've done that npm install, in my case an npm link in my local dev machine, is set my Dojo config up to look for where that library is going to be located, my widget. So there's a namespace I'm going to use. It's going to be located in node modules, but it's one. Remember, I have to go up one in my particular case here. And then it's going to be in this folder here. And to consume that, I'm going to initiate it in my store right here. I'm going to bring it over here. All right, and it just errored out. Let me reload that. All right, so I'm going to go to widget / overview map to bring it in. And it errored out there because I had deleted it temporarily, but it rebuilt. So I'm bringing my widget in there. I'm just going to initialize it, and where do I initialize that? Right here. And I'm just going to add it into my UI. And that's pretty much all I have to do. The other thing, like I said, I tried getting clever, and I pointed to the typings file that I created so I wouldn't have to call it widget. I was hoping I could just call it in like this, but that didn't work, so I don't know how to shorten it anyway. So now what I can do is I can just, again, that'll let me consume it and use it in here. And because the style was already set up to define how big the frame is, that's going to come in automatically, and I don't need to do anything with that. That's just one idea. Again, I'm not sure about the CSS and JS thing, but making them portable like this to consume them in applications makes this pretty useful. There might be a couple other things I can get away with trying to do that. Maybe some post CSS compile tricks I can do to have it consume stuff from my node modules folder when I want. But yeah, there you go. So that is just an example of how you can write your own widget, deploy it to npm, and then let others consume that widget in their applications. It's still very experimental. I'm still kind of tweaking this and how this might work, but just gives you an idea of the things that you can do. Thanks.